Hi, my name is Tim Raines. I'm a director in Trustworthy Computing here at Microsoft. I'd like to introduce you to the newest volume of the Microsoft Security Intelligence Report, Volume 13. This volume of the report focuses on the first half of 2012. The topics in this report include vulnerability disclosures, malware, potentially unwanted software, trends in phishing, spam, drive-by download sites, and many other topics that will help you understand the evolution of the global threat landscape. Let me walk you through a few of the key findings from this volume. We saw an 11% increase in vulnerability disclosures across the entire software industry in the first half of 2012. This reverses a downwards trend in vulnerability disclosures observed over the past 3 years. This increase was mostly driven by an increase in the number of vulnerabilities disclosed in applications, which accounted for 72% of all disclosures in the first half of 2012. Disclosures of vulnerabilities in web browsers increased slightly in the first half of 2012, continuing a trend of small increases over each of the last several periods. In terms of severity, high severity vulnerabilities increased almost 10% from the second half of 2011, and low severity vulnerabilities increased 54%, making up their largest share of total vulnerabilities since 2009. In terms of complexity, or how hard or easy it is to exploit a vulnerability, low complexity vulnerabilities, those that are the easiest to exploit, accounted for over 50% of disclosures in the first half of the year. Disclosures of vulnerabilities in Microsoft software continued to decline as a percentage of the total across the industry. Vulnerability disclosures in Microsoft software made up 4.8% of the industry total in the first half of 2012, down from 6.3% in the prior 6-month period. Vulnerability disclosures in Microsoft software as a percentage of the industry total have decreased by 56% since the second half of 2010. Looking at exploit activity, detections of exploits delivered through HTML or JavaScript decreased in the first half of 2012, but still make up the highest number of exploit detections worldwide. This pattern continues to be driven by the so-called black hole exploit kit. We have guidance on defending against the black hole exploit kit in Volume 13 of the Security Intelligence Report. Detections of exploits that target document readers and editors remain the third most prevalent class of exploits detected in the first half of 2012. Looking at malware trends, malware detections in the United States increased by more than 32% in the first half of 2012. This increase was primarily driven by fake PAV, a family of rogue security software, a category of threats also known as fake antivirus software or scareware. Detections of threats in Brazil and Korea increased more than 30% between the first and second quarters of 2012. There is a lot more regional data included in this volume of the report. You'll see threat data for over 105 countries and regions in the report. Conficker is no longer the top threat detected in enterprise environments, dropping to number 2 behind a threat called iframe-ref, which is a generic detection for specially crafted HTML tags that point to websites containing malicious content. On home systems, the most prevalent threats were software key generator tools, generically referred to as keygen. In fact, keygen, autorun, and black hole were in the top 5 threats found on both home and enterprise systems. To discuss the threat posed by keygen further, I'd like to introduce Dennis Batchelder, Program Manager from the Microsoft Malware Protection Center. Dennis, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, it's great to be here, Tim.
So Dennis, why is the current trend we see around keygen so concerning?
Great question, Tim. Keygen in itself is not malware, but we find that 76% of users who have keygen on their system also have malware on their system. So let me explain a bit about what keygen is. Keygen is cracked software. Typically what happens is users install some child software, then they get prompted for an activation key. So then that user either gets fooled into installing a stolen activation key, or they're trying to save money and they go look on the web and they find an example of one of these activation keys. So they stick that one on instead of the real software from the manufacturer. What happens is they've opened the door to install other malware. Sometimes the cracked software is malware. And sometimes it just leads them into doing more bad behavior that leads them into installing malware later.
So Dennis, what are some of the ways that these folks are getting tricked?
Well, there's two basic approaches that we're noticing out there. In the SIR report, we gathered up all the different names of these keygen files, and so we're finding examples of applications such as AutoCAD, Sony Vegas Pro, Adobe Photoshop, games like Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Nero Multimedia. There's also, we're finding examples of AVI files or MP3 files such as Lady Gaga, Pitbull, Maroon 5, recent movies like The Avengers, Prometheus, and The Hunger Games. These are all great ways where users are looking for either something legal or looking for maybe early release of a movie or early release of a video, and they want to get it on their machine, and unfortunately, they get infected.
A key findings summary and the full report are available, including data from 600 million systems and some of the Internet's busiest services, details on the threat landscape in 105 countries and regions, spam, phishing, drive-by data, and much more are available from Microsoft.com/SIR. Thank you for watching.